I just got this from, I have a graphic designer just made up my new flyer. My wife said it's too busy. She just sent me the text. It looks too busy. But this is going to be in Kansas City at Cleveland. We don't have a location yet, but this is going to be December 3rd. So if anybody wants to come, okay? And I try and really make them affordable as possible. A lot of docs like to sponsor the students too. But, you know, we've got to bring it to them. And we talk, I always say this, you know, I could just talk up here and talk at DE and FCS, all the different things we do, unless we put it to action. And this is what my action plan is go and help and get the students inspired about chiropractic. Like I said, they've been through most of their schooling virtually, right? This has been really hard for chiropractic students. Or any student, any person, we all know that, right? But imagine learning chiropractic virtually. I would have quit too. You know, it would be so hard. The ones that stuck with it, they're warriors, and I appreciate those men and women. And, you know, they've gone through a lot, and they've done a lot of work themselves to try and get out there to go and learn chiropractic. So I've had a lot of students coming to my offices, and you probably had to your offices. We've got to give it to them. And it hasn't been easy for them. So we've got to get out and go and serve them the best that we can. And, you know, I respect that. And the teachers that taught me, and forgive me, your name was again? Myron. And you just told me about being my friend Arno's teacher at Sherman from back in the day. And, you know, I respect the teachers so much. And the gentleman right here in Orangeburg, your mother-in-law, right, Mrs. Tubbs? Stills, excuse me, Mrs. Stills was my teacher at Orangeburg Wilkinson High School. And I think that was absolutely awesome. And, you know, God bless them all, the teachers out there. And so just to give you a little background of who I am. I didn't do that earlier today. And, you know, I said my name is Haig John. I live in Melbourne, Florida, and have practices there. And I went to high school. Actually, we moved from New York City. I was born at 35th Street and Park Avenue. My parents split up when I was very young. My dad was 88th Street and Park Avenue. So I moved from Park Avenue to Orangeburg, South Carolina. So Orangeburg, and that was early 80s. I got there, I was 13 years old. And it was a different place from Park Avenue, from Manhattan. You can just imagine, right? So, you know, I rebelled hard. And it wasn't hard to do in Orangeburg. Let me tell you, I rebelled hard. And, you know, I made a lot of friends on the way. A lot of those people didn't survive. Okay? We've had people come and go in our lives. And I feel so blessed that I had great mentors that kept me on track when I was really at my worst. And, you know, it's not hard to get into alcohol or drugs or whatever it might be. And so, like I said before, the people coming into our office, you know, we love them for where they are. Not for where we think they're going, but for where they are in that moment. So Orangeburg Wilkinson High School is where I didn't graduate from there because we moved my senior year. Basically, my mother saved my life. Okay, she said, you're not going to survive much longer here. And we moved to Florida. And I graduated from Palm Bay High School. And but my heart is in Orangeburg. I've had a lot of good friends there. And I haven't really been back since. And coming back up here, and I'm passing the 301 and the 601 Orangeburg, I'm like, man, I should stop in and see who I can find. Because I still communicate a little bit here and there with some of my friends. Some moved away, some in New York, friends in the Hamptons. I mean, living in multi-million-dollar homes around. They probably have, you know, all these actors as their neighbors, whatever, from Orangeburg. But it's kind of wild coming full circle and being in Columbia, because Orangeburg is just about 40 miles away or something like that. And so I feel really, really fortunate to be able to be in South Carolina and to be able to share. As a matter of fact, I've got some friends that are professors over here at USC, which I think is amazing. One of my good friends, he was, I remember he used to collect arrowheads, and he had this whole collection of arrowheads, and now he's teaching anthropology at USC. You know, I called him up the other day because he was posting on Facebook, And I said, Chris, hey man, this is Haig John, you remember me? He's like, hey, oh yeah. We used to build trails and ride our BMX bikes for miles through the woods, man. You wouldn't see us all day long. But that little arrowhead collection he had turned into serving the people. You don't know how far-reaching the things you think, say, or do will change the lives of millions of people tomorrow. The little things that we do. And, you know, I keep going back to Pasquale. I said that quote to him. He goes, tomorrow never comes, it's right now. You're changing the world right now. It's right now. And everything you're doing, even just showing up here, I know you got to do your CEs, but you can do them anywhere. You're doing them in the principled place right now. You're doing it where you've got the philosophy, you've got the principle, you've got the camaraderie of having similar thoughts and ideas and practices. We all do things a little bit different. But you chose this place, the Palmetto State Chiropractic Association. I'm trying to read it on the back there. Please forgive me. So, you know, I respect that a great deal. And I'm happy to be in South Carolina. I was really thrilled about this coming today. So my wife said it looks a little too busy. We might change the flyer, but if you want to come out, I'm going to do it at Life University I think it's second or third week of January. It's whatever their second week of school is at Life University. If you guys ever want to put something together, we get enough people, we can do them here too. I'll show up where you tell me to show up, all right? I'm going to shorten this intro. It's too long. Today we're going to go through. This is my son. Two-hand lumbar adjusting on a toddler. And he's 6 now. He's such a big place. So first we find our subluxation. He has a high left side of the mammillary process here on his 5th lumbar. So usually either I go my piezoform, or actually I take a contact right through here, and just, the lumbars have a lower tone or more earthly vibration. I'll talk about that in a minute. I come in slowly and a light impulse at the end. And he's clear there. It's not a lot of force. We don't want to do a toggle very quickly. It's low force, a little bit of tension. Very often the vertebra will move with very light force or just with a little impulse. And here we're adjusting the sacrum. I switch the sacrum. When I'm adjusting the sacrum, I'm right on the SI joint. And this is a high side. He has a base posterior on the left, and I can feel that. And I'm just feeding in with the tone of the dural system. And I'm actually doing a little bit of pumping, if you can see that, with my piezoform. And you can do this with inferior hand or superior hand. I do both. And then you can do it on the opposite side or the same side. Good boy. So that's infant or toddler lumbar single hand adjusting. Hold on, Malcolm. Young, you want to go next? Come on over to the table, please. I'm so glad I did these while they were small, you know. I mean, they're growing up so fast. And I do a lot of prone adjusting. In my heyday, I'm seeing 175 people a day. I let off of that a little bit because I noticed associates couldn't jump right into that. So we spread that out a little bit. But saving time and effort of people flipping and doing a lot of different things. I do supine adjusting too, a lot. But really getting the job done while they're there, I'm doing single hand adjusting. And I do a single hand lumbar, and it's so specific. You can lock right onto the mammillary process. I don't do so much from the spinous, but very often when you're just matching that tone, that vertebra will fall right into place with very little force. I'm going to show you a side posture later on today, and I did it with Dwayne last night, and where we're keeping the pelvis from rolling. I see a lot of people with especially lumbar adjusting and rolling them out and twisting. The facets in the lumbar spine are perpendicular to the floor, right? Which means they don't want rotation. They'll slip forward and backwards, right, for bending, but they don't want rotation. So adjusting without that rotation, doing side posture, how in the world do you do that? First, really, you bend the knees, both knees. Instead of making a fulcrum, right, like we learned in Gonstead, we've all learned that stuff. What we want to do is actually stabilize the lower half, and then we can move a single vertebra. We can be much more specific. I'll demonstrate those things in a little while, but just to give you an idea of where we're going. I do very often on adults, not just children, that single hand lumbar. And what I do also is I've sort of taken out the drops. I still have drops for associates and things, and I teach them work without drops. But when we're tuned in, the drop very often distracts me, or it distracts the person too. So what I want to do is I want to feel that joint. I want to feel the give. I want to feel where that dura is. Remember I talked about the ebb and the flow, right? I want to feel when the system's at peace and ready for my input. I noticed, and I'm not picking up, I love Thompson's, where I've gotten a lot of my start from, and it's just slightly different. I'm just taking a little bit out of there of not having to drop. And feeding into that and just allowing the system to be at ease and adding that impulse through it. I do the same thing in toggle. And I love toggle. My mentor was, like I said before, Clarence Jensen. He was at Clearview in the early 50s with BJ, and Dr. Nell Williams was in his class, was at Clearview as well. And he taught me what they called Palmer specific, which was toggle, right? H-I-O. And if he knew I was doing these without an x-ray, he might be doing backflips. But finding a very, very specific atlas subluxation, coordinates and how to adjust it, and doing that without an x-ray. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And really we're doing challenges, right? Which way do you want to go? Which way does the bone want to go? Feeling all the attachments around the vertebra, all the vertebrae. If it's in tension, it's got a higher vibration. You tighten the guitar string, the tone goes up. You loosen it, the tone goes down, right? So when I was adjusting my son, you might have heard me say, he had that lumbar subluxation. It's much more earthly. It's a lower tone. The density of the vertebra is heavier than it is the vertebra higher, right? This is our grounding point. This portion of our body, we're grounded in earthly stuff. It's where all our waste comes out. It's our system of, and there's energetic waste that we don't even see. I feel that's the reason why the sacrum is shaped the way it is, out. So when we get in tune of just feeling the density of the bone, feeling the dura, and we're really connecting into it, whether we're using the drop or not, really it's just that level of connection while we're there. So it's just an earthly tone. That's what I call it. You call it whatever you want. As we go up the spine, that tone very often changes because that vertebra, each vertebra is oscillating, it's vibrating. Well, it's trained to the vibration of your central nerve system. Now I've been corrected on this by multiple electrical engineers, and they both said something different. So I'll go with the one guy. He said it's 54 hertz in your house, the light bulb, or the electrical system. So each one of us, we don't have a number like that. All of ours are completely different. The tone of our neural system, right? So what we're doing is really reconnecting to that vibration. That vibration, at the atlas, they've shown the atlas will oscillate after the adjustment for a couple of hours until it entrains into the tone of the spinal cord, of the neural system. And that doesn't stop after the atlas. That's every vertebra on the way down. Then we take in the CSF. CSF flows, we all know, from the pump of the sacrum, right? Moving of the jaw, breathing in and out of the nose. That pumps our CSF. The cranium expands from in and out of the nose. That's why I teach my kids really taking deep breaths, not out of the mouth. It's a different tone and flexion of the cranium. It's a little SOT stuff, craniopathy, but that tone, if any part of that is off, or any part of that mechanism, you're not pumping CSF properly. Now, in chiropractic, we talk about neurology. It's the nerves, absolutely important. You also have to think there's a lot of other stuff going on in that system. So when I started really thinking about, when we're talking about the dura, when I'm adjusting, what we're doing, Arno, actually, we were talking about Arno Bernier before, we're talking about adjusting at ease. That's the first person that got me into that consciousness. And not going through, locking out, and then more into the paraphysiological space, but bringing to ease. Then the next step, I really put a lot of effort really thinking about this dura. I've been really conscious about the dura since I was in school. I love cranial work. I loved SOT. I really thought there was just a little bit more in when we take that approach and understanding of the neurology and then applying it to the adjustment. So some of the people that were here earlier, and I was adjusting a couple of people, just showing what we bring to ease, but then when we're bringing just the consciousness of the dura. You think about it like an animal balloon, those long balloons. If you twist it a little bit, you're torquing that, you can see that. Same type of things going on in the dura. So what we do, just think about the cervicals, we bring that dura when we're taking out that twist, or we're taking out the stress out of the dura itself. Not just the muscles at ease, but all the way down through that dural system. And then the adjustment, usually it'll fall right into place. Sometimes you need to offer a little bit more oomph, because we worked on speed, adjusting with speed. But now, I'm really getting to a point where it's less speed, more ease in the system, where that dura is actually relaxed. And then spirit, your innate says, okay, I don't have to defend from this now. I feel like I'm being honored, and that light impulse. And the adjustment, we go back to this pendulum, okay? That pendulum, a light force. Instead of really breaking through resistance. And, I'm not picking on anybody's style of adjusting. What you do is up to you. And, I've been adjusted every way I really think in this world, because I go to so many seminars, and we all need to get adjusted. So I've gotten adjusted in a million different ways. The way I really prefer is when it's at ease, instead of force. So, when we think about that dura, right, we have the dura mater, we have the pia mater around the spinal cord, and we have the arachnoid mater. That arachnoid mater, what that's doing, it's just like the engineering test where they have the kids with the straws and they drop the egg off the roof. They do that? You guys know what I'm talking about? I'm around, there's an engineering school right down the street from my office, so I hear all these things, okay? So in engineering school, they put an egg and they all get a bunch of same amount of straws, and what they do is, they drop the egg off the roof. And I guess you get a better grade if it doesn't break, I don't know. But you see that pia mater is doing the same thing to hold the spinal cord in place. When there's a shock, it's able to absorb, and then there's space for CSF to flow. Now when we have a subluxation, what happens? That dentate ligaments, right, the arachnoid mater, puts torque on the spinal cord itself. And we see that very often, short legs, all sorts of things, but that's torque on the spinal cord. Do we want to add more torque on the spinal cord, or do we want to try and bring it to the greatest level of ease, get the bone out of the way, and then that could be at peace? So that's what we're really looking at. Also, not just the bone, not just the muscles, not just the tissue around it, and not just the dura, but the entire, neural dural system, and how much stress we're putting on it and how much we're taking off. You follow that? So that's what we're looking at in the cervicals. Same thing in the lumbars. So when I was talking about the lumbars, legs bent, I'll show you some things in a moment. And keeping that system at ease. And sometimes you might have to do a few movements that you can see torque in people's bodies sometimes, right? They're twisted, they're all this stuff, Chiropractors, that's our curse, walking through the mall. Of just watching people walk like, oh my gosh, how are you surviving? So I've got a little story. I pushed myself. When Singafus was around, we were doing the gatherings, DE, my seminar, I'd go 7-8 weeks straight. I just did 6 weekends straight. And until my innate would say, you need a rest, I'd get a cold, right? That's stress. And one day on a Monday, I'm coming to the office, my wife was the CA at the time, and I'm walking like this. She's like, you okay? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm great. She's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no. And I'm literally walking bent over. How many people have you had come to the office, and the husband, wife's coming and getting adjusted, he's like, oh yeah, I'm all right. And I did the same thing. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, I need to get adjusted, right? I don't know where I got that from, but I just had to tell you that story. We need to care for ourselves. I put my care on the back burner sometimes. And there was a time in my area, I had really no one to really take care of me. So I would drive to Miami and go see my friends and get adjusted down there. Eddie Martinez used to adjust me. Dana Bechter, Paula Haig John. And I'd take vacations in places where chiropractors were, so I could get adjusted, get taken care of. I'd fly up to New York and get Pasquale's guys up there to adjust me. It was important, but I wasn't getting really cared for at home. And I'm like, why haven't I had any of these seminars at home? I'll do it for the chiropractors around me, so I can get taken care of better. And it worked. So I feel fortunate about being able to teach people a little bit of adjusting so I can get better adjustments is what it boiled down to. All right. So our little princess here had a fall, which happens with children. They fall down and have a little skull fracture. And a nice ER. There's a little hematoma. Subdural hematoma. We're going to not necessarily avoid the area, but first thing I'm going to check to make sure her atlas is clear. And you can see what I'm doing is also blocking her head from getting more rotation. She wants to go. Not hard blocking, but just a little barrier. And I'm holding that atlas. There we go. And I can feel underneath there. It's actually starting to move. And you can see the vector. Good job. Yeah. And you see that? You're just starting to open up. Now it gets a little wild. And it's actually the atlas right here, it's getting softer, but it's very, very lateral. So I'm actually just going to give it a little bit more pressure. And there she goes. She's moving it out. And I'm keeping the head from rotating here, okay? And she's doing most of the work. I'm just adding a little bit of pressure, a little bit of focus just to make it that adjustment. And it's just melting under my hand. She's open up. We can see her physiology. Good job. Okay. And now her atlas is clear, it's soft. And there's the yawn. That's what we want to see. That's release of deep meningeal tension. I'm going down to T1, okay? That's the next one I feel. Look how she straightened out right when I got to it. And so this is kind of how my office is. The kids running berserk half the time. And I don't mind it at all. To the left of her T1 vertebra. She's doing the rest of the wiggling. She's doing all the work. I'm just making sure my neck is correct. There we go. Oh my goodness, so good. Now, I'm just going to check her cranial motion. She got a big boo-boo. There's not a lot of swelling, and they did a CT scan. We saw a little hematoma there. I'm checking the other side occiput right now. And you can see there's more wiggle. Okay, occiput again over here. Good. Now, I'm going to check this side occiput. And it's clear from when I adjusted the atlas. I'm going to check the rest of the occiput, just cranial motion. And she's been adjusted since birth, since 4 days, yeah, day 4. That's right. So she actually has good cranial motion still. I can feel that. Everything's moving well under my hands. I'm going to check sphenoid. Sphenoid's a little bit tight here. But she's a well-adjusted baby. I know. It's a little sore. I'm holding you still. There we go. That's it. Just a little bit more. Left side sphenoid. Good. Good. And now it's soft, and I can feel that sphenoid moving really well. Just right here, let's just check. Right. That's moving well. I'm going to check the temporal bones. Oh, that's it. And just a little bit
rotation on the right side.
You know, it might look like I'm really turning it. It's the intention of it.
And there we go. And I can feel this. That's it. And the amount of pressure I'm doing, and she's just got advanced rotation. You can see her whole body has just changed, right? And I'm not twisting, I'm not turning. It's just almost the intention of pressure. And just the intention of it. And that's the way all of them work. I'm just going to check her jaw just in case that's affected. Beautiful. And that's an innate baby adjustment right there. I'm going to check the rest of her too while we're here. Oh, that's it. There we go. I'm just holding that. This is her right sacrum base posterior. Good.
You see how much more work you can do when you're not adjusting them on the mommy's tummy or daddy's tummy? You can really do a lot more work.
Okay. That's an innate adjustment. How old is she now? Almost 7 weeks. Yay! Okay, all good.
So, the father was holding the baby. Kids are bouncing all over the place in the bathroom. He slips and tries not to land on one of them, holding the baby, and the baby's head hits the countertop of the bathroom countertop. Fractures the skull, right? You saw the other 3 kids, you know, it wasn't his fault. Things happen, right? And they went to the hospital. They didn't sleep that night, came straight from the hospital there. After that, all the pressure, that hematoma was almost completely gone after their adjustment. It's not contraindicated, you know, putting force in there, a lot of force, yes, don't do that. But really clearing that, all the cranial bones of the head, things moving, clearing the atlas, clearing the neural system, that baby was perfect. She said they could barely even find, they went for another one, they saw the tiniest little bit of the fracture, and then the next one they didn't see it at all. It healed like that fast. The bone healed that fast. Just amazing, right? What we're doing is truly amazing. That baby, could you imagine, never went to a chiropractor, had her first concussion at 7 weeks old, and you know, who knows how that would affect the rest of her life? Who knows, right? She could be institutionalized. Ultimately, that baby is absolutely healthy from that adjustment. She'd been adjusted from birth. She was another mom that brought that, all 3 of those babies I've seen since pregnancy, and then adjusted. They're very vibrant children, okay? So that family has their hands full. That dura, I mean, how amazing, this is another one of Gil's, you know, go to his website, it's so cool. But this is the dura inside the cranium. I've had an opportunity to be at quite a number of dissections. And to do a dissection at this level, you realize that dura inside the cranium is stronger than Velcro. I mean, I can't imagine them separating, and they have such a clear view of this. I love using the word clear view, right, for obvious reasons. But you realize inside of this, just inside of there, is all the CSF. The cranium, the bones attached to this. And to get that level of dissection, I just think that is absolutely beautiful. But what are we dealing with? This is filled with CSF. So when we're doing that adjustment, we're affecting that neural system all the way to that level. And we have to pay attention to it. We have to honor it. I've got a lot of videos on these, but they show a lot.
Here, he is at ease.
Now we're going to do the adjusting of what I was talking about.
The cranial sacral pump is and how his CSF is flowing right now. I can feel that he's not fully, I can feel the tension in the dura. So what I'm going to do is actually just take a little rotation right there, and I can feel that whole system much more at ease, and it's not going to take much for me to adjust this. So first, I get my vector out here. My fingertip is on there, and I've never taken my finger off of that spot. I'm going to drop my shoulder a little bit and just find that point of bliss. And it didn't take much at all. You feel that just kind of fell right into place?
It's not easy doing it on your knees either. I was demonstrating that, but you know, that level of ease of adjusting. And it might seem very different to a lot of people. We do the same thing in toggle. I'm going to show you toggle too. But bringing the whole system where the dura, you're just visualizing. If you feel that torque, it just doesn't feel at ease. When you're going in to deliver the adjustments, the pushback, I'm not ready yet. And just think of that dura. Just give it just a moment. And then it's not them being at ease. It's not being them, letting them, it's not a system, what do you call it? It's not them relaxing, right? They can't control that, is what I'm saying. And, I hear moms all the time, well, just relax, honey. I'm like, how often can you relax when someone tells you, relax? No one can relax when you tell them to relax, right? So what we have to do is feel when the system is at ease. And that takes palpation, it takes time. It doesn't necessarily come very quickly for everybody, right? It's each day a little better. Try a little bit harder, right? This next one is, let's see.
Okay, we have Carson. She was born yesterday at 8 p.m. And you can see how she's holding her hand up there. That's the way she was, just kind of stuck that way.
She came out like that.
From the left short leg. And I can feel there's a lot of tension in her occiput, the base of her occiput, right, the atlas. And I'm holding that. There we go. And she's going to kind of wiggle and unwind a little bit on her own. She's doing most of the work. There you go. That's it. Her atlas is shifted a little to the right side here. There you go. Good job. And we do all the palpation and adjusting newborns on their back, face up. You just went to sleep with that, with her arms relaxing a little. I just woke her up. There we go. I want to see her unwind. You can see she's like a little C. Right here. There we go. There we go. Try to hold that. It's just a little longer. I want to see her just open up. There we go. That's what we want to see.
And again, I'm blocking here for her each rotation, for her torso and the head.
Deep tension, deep tension. A little hiccup was part of it. Good job. Here we go. Here we go. Right here. Newborn's like a little squeeze, a little bit like that. And now can you see how much more easy her legs are? You're not used to opening up like that. You're going to do a little bit more right here. Right here with you. There we go. And has she nursed really well and latching okay?
She had some issues latching. She was better this morning.
Okay.
But they said this should help.
This should help a lot. And I'm going to recommend just bring her back next week.
Okay.
If anytime you see constipated or she has tough trouble latching, bring her in as quick as you can, okay? And this one right here, you can just see how she just went ease without it. Because her atlas has actually gone a little bit posterior. And just bringing that up, she's just taking pressure off. Atlas is the first bone in the neck.
Okay.
And I'm just going to check her jaw. Put your hand on her just so she knows you're there. That's it. Yeah, very good question. And her jaw is just pushed up just a little bit from having that hand there. We're just going to bring it down just a little. Just like that. She's so precious. Good job. That's very good. Just now bring your hand right to her face. And breathe. Now she's so much more easier. Relax. She's balanced. Just check down sacrum. So I'm finding a little bit of her sacrum subluxated right here on the left side. That's why she's pulled to that left. And just doing that, you can see she almost is like elongated. You can see it. Yay! And that just relaxed here. The tone of her face just changed. You see it? Yeah. Okay, that's adjustment on a newborn. She's all done. Awesome.
The family spent 6 months in the U.S. In Melbourne, Florida, and then 6 months in Puerto Rico. just so, they can surf half the year here and half the year there. And so I haven't gotten to see that baby again. I want to see how she is now. They've been in Puerto Rico. What I'd like to do is, should we set up some chairs or sit where we are? There's not much room. And what I'd like to do is, we're going to connect to our bioenergetic field. And we're putting out energy out of our body, just like we see those pictures of the earth, the magnetic field of the earth. We have the same things coming out of us. And I know it sounds very esoteric, but what we're really doing, I said this before, but you ever, you walk up to a patient, you go right to the spot. Oh, that's the spot, doc, how'd you know? Right? Well, I thought about, how in the world do we know that? It seems to happen so easily, especially with chiropractors practicing a little while. It's like you get right to it. Then I went to a seminar with Don Epstein, from Network, and I did a couple of levels with him a few times, and I like their work. The approach that we're doing is sort of bringing all of that stuff, BGI, Network, Thompson, SOT, MLS, full spine adjusting, all into one moment. Instead of having a 15-minute integration, we're taking all those things into the single moment. How do we connect to those things? Well, I heard Don Epstein say, from the subluxation, there's a vortex coming out of that subluxation. Well, where in the world's it go? Okay? So the next step, I'm thinking, okay, if there's a bioenergetic field around the body, that vortex must affect the field. So let me look deeper into that field. Okay? Anybody want to be a guinea pig? Come on up. You might just grab that and we'll move it down that way. Thanks. There's one more so we're not right in the light right here. There we go. Perfecto. Okay. Just, why don't you go just face down, please. So this is off of the body, okay? We're coming off the field, and I love getting in and touching people, and I do a lot of, I'm always touching people. This is a demonstration of understanding this bioenergetic field. If you can't see, you can come closer. You don't have to sit in your chairs. Everybody can come over. But the first thing when I'm feeling is, where's the outer border of this? And I can feel him. He's right out about here, okay? I can feel that. And coming around his system, it might have ebbs and flows. You can come around and you can feel it. It comes in a little bit here. What I've realized, this isn't continuous. You can feel dips and things. And just coming around to his system, you can feel right here is almost like a dip. We come right into his L5. You can feel that spot right there. And then you feel there's just a little bit more on that side, right? So that just drew me into L5. Finding a subluxation, right? He has a right short leg. I can test it, just do a little challenge. That right leg balanced, just rechecking myself. But how do we come into this and coming into their field? If I'm stepping into this person's field, this is his personal space, right? This is what we guard very much in our life. So that's the next part about really being clear again of who we are, just even walking up to this table. Getting connected to this field, and I can feel him. I can really feel that energy around his system. And then coming right in here, I get drawn into this spot. I know it sounds a little outside for a lot of people, but that's why, when we're in practice a while, hey, you just went right into that. We're not even aware of it. We're just following it in. Oh, here it is. I've got your spot. This is your spot, right? So we'll do that again. And just coming around I can feel coming down through the cervicals. We're coming in through the cervicals. You can feel that. Anybody want to come up and try? I'm going to do it all together. I'm just showing you on one person. We're all going to do it on each other, right? Instead of just sitting there. Let's be active, okay? So I'm going to adjust you later. You need an adjustment. All done for now, okay? Come on up. I heard a few Z's down there. Okay, thanks. Well, what I want to do is, we have two people at each table, so there's doctor-patient. We can line up the chairs out here, unless we want to do it back at the tables, and let's start seeing what we can feel with each person. Let's just pair up, doctor-patient. I feel like a bubble. You're walking into a bubble. You know, you could just feel it. Once you just become aware of it, it's opening our heart and allowing our awareness.
Not right now.
So somebody's doctor, somebody's patient. Somebody's got to sit down. So at the tables, or you guys want to bring chairs out here? You know, we've all done hundreds and hundreds of CE credits, right? Almost never are they interactive. Let's get moving and stand up and do some interactive stuff, right? There you go. Just try to be aware of it. Just start thinking about it. There you go. It's all about energy. I heard that back there. You know, chiropractors are doing energy work. It's life work. Bring your hands out. Come out there. See, like this. This is where we are. Right here. You got it. Coming from outside in. Exactly. Coming from the outside, just feel it. You're palpating. You're feeling their energy. I know it sounds so weird. You can, I can feel it right from about here. I can just feel it almost bounce right off it, right? That's it. So, and that's where we come in, and then you can feel it. That even around your head, it actually dips in. But come right around through here. I'm just going to come right into your neck, right there. That's the one, right?
Which do you think?
I will before we leave. I'll adjust everybody. There you go. And you just went right to the sagittal suture. On the parietal bone. There you go, coming from the outside in, just like that. Come from outside, step away. And come from here, like here. I can almost feel him starting from right about here, right? He puts off a lot of positive energy. All that. I didn't get one buzz from the right side. So just feel it. Just let yourself just let go and see what you can feel.
See ya.
Interesting, you saw that. You felt it? So you probably will get guided right into a subluxation. Probably this side, there's rotation. I bet, you know, with that level, you feel the whole left side, probably Atlas, maybe C2. So come out another couple, right here. I can feel him right about here. It's almost like a bubble. We can bounce on it. You're putting off a lot of good energy right through there. And you know what? We're not doing metaphysical weird stuff. It's actually what this bioenergetic field of this amazing system is in, right? And just connected to that. Absolutely. How you guys feeling? You feel it? Right here, and it's your first try, right? Thank you for your service. I appreciate you. And right here, I can feel it. It's actually, it comes in a little more narrow here, right out about the front of your heart. It's all the way out here. It doesn't have to be the same all the way around. It's actually got dips and flows, right? Right through your head. I'm going to come right in here in your lower part of your neck. This is your, feel that, a C7, T1 rotated. I can just be guided right into that spot. I know it sounds so strange, but you know, you think about dogs, how hyper aware they are. They know when they don't like somebody as soon as they walk in the room, because they're aware so much of their surroundings. We've lost that being civilized, right? You got, I'll adjust everybody. Absolutely, absolutely.
Just do your best. Just do your best.
Yeah. See, right here, I can feel right when we come in, it's almost like spongy, right? I can feel it. And you're just being aware, like right, so your beard's putting off a lot of energy, but all that, it's right at that point, right there. You can almost bounce off it. And from your heart, it actually comes out like this. I can feel it. Power in that, right? A math, what is it? Heart math? or heart mapping. I think it's at heartmap.com. Yeah, I think it was Greg Braden who talked about it in one of his talks. They're measuring the field of the heart up to 6 feet away, or 8 feet, and that's just because they can only go that far out because their equipment can only measure that far out. We're putting off so much energy in this amazing body, paying attention and honoring it when we come up to the table. Not just when we're touching or what have you, before we even enter into that field. That's power, right? That's really making transformation. Yeah. That's it.
I mean, they're great here, but that doesn't mean it's not.
Absolutely. And come in through, you don't want to muddy the whole thing. You come into there and then you're connecting right to that vertebra. A lot of people say the sphenoid really is the top vertebra. Amazing. Amazing, right? So yeah, you tune right in. Fantastic. How about we switch? Doctors, patients, you guys are ready to switch. You guys, have you guys all switched?
Yeah, you've all switched.
All right, let's get back to our chairs. And you guys just switched. We'll keep doing it. Keep doing it. You notice how you were closer on this hand than in this one. You were right in there. I think you're feeling it. You're doing it. Oh yeah, that's it exactly. You can feel it. Isn't it wild? It's absolutely amazing, this body. Yes. Well, the system, you'll feel it just let go. Right when you're in that exact vector, their innate will tell you, you got it. Exactly. Would you mind going to carry this table over? No, we'll just move this one to the back. This is too high for me. No, I'll help you. I'll help you. Okay, did everybody really get it? Did anybody really feel it? You guys did. I want to thank you for trying, no matter what. I know it sounds cuckoo, but thanks for trying. And you've got a little bit of awareness and seeing it. You may not have seen it before. Now you might see it all the time. And you're going to say, now he showed me that, I can't stop seeing it, which is probably good, right? So, what's our next level with adjusting for ourselves? And constantly working to improve, not just how we communicate chiropractic or talk to people about chiropractic, but even improving in our adjustments. We can always work to be a little bit better. Constantly improving. Once we stop improving, think we have it all, is usually when we start declining. In reality, that's the beginning of death. I want to continually improve in my life. Okay? I'm going to show this one.
What we're looking at is thinking about consciousness, where we're thinking becoming one with the atlas, from my episternal notch through the anatomical snuff box from the top end, through the piezophone from the top end, all the way through to get to atlas.
You see, I'm vectoring here, though.
You can see it, visualize it in my mind's eye how it's moving. You just feel it's getting softer. Good. Okay. Immediately your scapula will be more symmetrical, much more ease at your atlas. You feel that. And you still feel his face posterior. You're going to adjust it. As a matter of fact, I can see the rotation in your pelvis. Raise this whole leg up and down. Raise this one, please. I could feel under my hand where it just grabs you. Was it harder to lift? It was, yeah. I can just see that tension.
So you can get a base posterior, the side with the least amount of range of motion was the same side.
So what I'm doing is pumping the sacrum just in the moments where I can feel your meninges and the CSF, cerebral spinal fluid. It's almost like a wave. Perfect. And then we get just a pause. That's fine. Good. Yeah, I'll check to see if that's any different with me there. You have more range of motion, but that is sticking on that side. Raise that leg up, please. Better. Drop it down. Let's see that. Do you feel that difference? It's moving better.
I think I got it. So that man was a pilot. I started adjusting one pilot, and then I started adjusting millions of pilots. Not millions, but I became the chiropractor for the U.S. aerobatics team. And they lived in Luzerne, France, where they were flying out of. And so I had pilots fly. That man was a pilot. I have from different airlines that live in different parts of the country that just fly in to come and get adjusted and they fly out. I absolutely love that. I think it's just so cool. I haven't gotten any free flights for it myself, but I'm working on that. That man comes in every single time. Actually, he was a patient of my friend Joseph Epplett. May he rest in peace. This morning, or last night, I got a message that he had passed. And 50 years in practice. He was the man that really pushed me to be better in chiropractic. He had a practice down the street from me. 50 years in practice. And he was, I tell you, if anywhere I go, I'd see him screening. And he'd be out there just a warrior, teaching people about chiropractic, getting people in. See 180 people a day in his office. And a light Grostic adjustment, and people would line up down the road. He didn't spend a lot of time with them, he just loved them. And every single day he was out fighting people, telling people the truth, and out screening. He out-screened me. And we were doing 6 to 8 screenings a month and 2 outside talks for 10 years. But every day, just to teach some more people about chiropractic, he used to do that. And he'd tell me, man, I just did 3 screenings yesterday. I was like, dude, all right, I'd get my juice up so I go out and do some more too. And motivated me. He'd call me up, I just saw 145 people. I'm like, it's 137. I've got to turn up my juice, right? I'm not throwing out numbers. It's not about judging that stuff. It really was about a little competition between me and my buddy who'd been practicing 40 years longer than I have at that time. But God bless him, he just passed away. And he was just an amazing man, Dr. Joseph Epplett. And so I feel really honored to have known him and all the people that have come before us. Because, there have been hundreds and hundreds of thousands, really, of chiropractors, and we're really standing on their shoulders. We wouldn't be here at all if it wasn't for these people, that just went out and knew I have to teach everybody that there is an innate intelligence in them and the body can heal itself. We've got to keep people from going down the long road. That's actually pretty short and you end up under the soil because it's not hard to do. I had one of my close friends of mine, his name was Lou Panuccio. Loved him, he was a DE speaker, great friend of mine. And what he did, he told me, he was like, they just talked me into it. And he had a heart valve replacement. And he said, I feel weak. I can't go back now. And I feel like I just gave up my principles. He didn't. He got pressured in the moments that he was weak. We all get weak. Sometimes that outside world pushes hard, man. It pushes hard. And you know what? Sometimes it's just easier to say, all right, it's all right, okay. Well, that's why we have each other. That's why we have support. That's why I can call you on the phone. You can call me on the phone. You can call Dwayne on the phone. You can call whoever and just say, hey, man, I'm having a low day. Whatever it is, what should I do? Help me. You might not even, it's not even the words they say, just know that somebody else is on the line. Because we're not alone. You're not alone. My father was internal medicine. He was educated in London. And, I've gone to a lot of conferences even with him when I was a kid. There is no camaraderie like there is in chiropractic. In any other profession. I've never seen it like chiropractic is. And it has been for a long time. We're all out here to help each other. There's no such thing as competition. There's a book by Wallace Wattles. I don't know if everybody's ever read that. That's where they made The Secret from. Wallace Wattles, his book is called The Science of Getting Rich. And one of his main things, he said there's no competition. You make a competition. That's all your fault if you feel like someone's competing against you. One of the people, the guy that was seeing all the kids before I moved to town is Sal Martingano in my town. You know Dr. Sal? Sal's my man. He's a Sherman grad. And when I was a kid, I moved from South Carolina. I moved to Florida. And my neighbor, this kid, my friend, and he was so jazzed up, went to the chiropractor. Man, I just went to the chiropractor. He was so excited. I'm like, dude, I want some of that. I tell my mom and dad, I want to go to the chiropractor. Boy, shut up. What are you going to chiropractor? Yeah, we don't need that stuff. We don't believe in that. Or whatever they said. I don't know. I went to the University of San Diego, and I tell everybody I was in an accident, but I was in a bar fight, all right? And I had my butt kicked, okay? This is the truth, all right? And when I was at a concert. It was the Electric Love Hogs was the name of the band. I'll never forget it. And the place was packed. The police were about to come in and just close the place because it was so rowdy, right? So I had my back turned. The police were about to come in through the gate, and then I got jumped from the back by the bartender. And he pulled my jacket over my head and kicking me. The cop saw the whole thing. So I'm a college student, I have zero money, and I wanted to go to a chiropractor. And my buddy's dad was a lawyer. And I said, you know what, send me to a chiropractor. We're gonna get revenge, right? But not really revenge for me, but someone to pay for my care is really what it was about, okay? So we did a little thing with the lawyer. He sends me to a chiropractor, and that he knew what he knew of chiropractic. Let's put it that way. So I go to this place, and now I know it's ultrasound jelly and the zapper, And they left it. There was two women, and they were complaining about somebody's boyfriend and what have you. And she was probably talking. She left the thing right on my back, the ultrasound. And I was like, I jumped off the table. I was probably less than kind in my speech. And I stormed out of that place. Jelly, I remember putting on my shirt and the gel on my back. And I was like, I can't even get my shirt on. And I see Libs Chiropractic, Dr. David Libs. He's on Garnett Street in Pacific Beach in San Diego. And I was like, I'm going in there. And now I understand he's a Gonstead guy. He told me what a subluxation was. Now, my reflux, I was 20, I think I was 20 at the time, maybe 21. I was sleeping in a recliner. Reflux so bad, I drink a glass of water, it was like lava was coming out of my stomach. My grades were going down in the toilet. I'd read a page like, God, I just can't remember. I don't know what I just read. They have labels for that, drugs for it. I'm declining. 21 years old. I'm declining, dying. I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't read, I can't remember, right? I'm sure they could call that a syndrome of some sort, right? And he starts adjusting me properly. Those things started to change. I'd love to say it went away immediately, everything was better. It took a little time, right? My reflux started getting better. I could sleep in a bed, right? My grades started getting better. I could read and remember what I just read, and it was sticking with me again. He saved my life by telling me about chiropractic, telling me what a subluxation is. I'm going to adjust you, and your body's going to heal itself. Now, he said, there's this thing called a subluxation. And now, I come from my father's internal medicine, right? I'm like, that's stupid where that is. What are you talking about? I never heard of subluxation. Whatever. Chiropractors. And you know what? He told me the truth. It took me a long time to understand it. Because after undergrad, I went to law school. I went to St. Thomas University in Miami. And I realized I would way rather hire an attorney than be one. Okay? Like I said, my father's internal medicine, his father and uncles, everybody were doctors. And my father, he was born in 1920, and probably like around 1940, he was in medical school. That was before the AMA, right? And that's when doctors, they learned how to care for people really back then. It's about caring about people. On his deathbed, as a matter of fact, my father died from cancer at Sloan Kettering in New York. And, what he said in his deathbed, he said that it's true. There is no such thing as a doctor anymore. They're just technicians. And he was so sad. So sad. And I realized that's what's happening in chiropractic. They just want to make you into technicians. Oh, press this button. Let's let it. And I'm not picking on flexion distraction. It has a great place in chiropractic, but that can't be your only adjustment. A lot of places are only teaching that. Teaching a machine. Put you on this. Get somebody to put the zap in. You know what TENS unit actually does? Well, it depletes the neurotransmitter, so the brain can't talk to it. If you read the instructions in the warning label, this is purely palliative and can inhibit healing. Why use it? Because it feels good, or I think it feels terrible. I can't stand the way it feels. It feels like ants are crawling all over me. But what it does is deplete the neurotransmitter. So for that moment in the synapse, we learn, right, the axoplasm moves 9 millimeters a month or something around there. So you depleted it mechanically, and now the machine's doing the work, and then eventually that axoplasm comes back, the neurotransmitter's back, and you start feeling it again. Did it do any good? No, because the brain couldn't talk to it, so it couldn't heal it. It inhibits healing, right? So I just did a video on that. I put out, I haven't gotten a whole lot of love from it, from a lot of chiropractors, but that's the science. If you don't want to hear the science, everybody wants to hear the science. I'll show you the science. That's it. So anyway, they put me on that stuff, did those things at that chiropractor, went to a chiropractor. Actually, I never met the chiropractor at that other place. I just met the CAs. I didn't even know what a CA was then, right? So he told me that story. Didn't change my life to be a chiropractor yet. Went on to law school, decided I'd rather hire an attorney than be one, and I went to chiropractic school. And once I thought about chiropractic, I couldn't think about anything else. I became obsessed with it. That's in the 90s, and in the 90s, I was going to the library. Where else do you go? There was no internet yet. I'm going to the library trying to find stuff about chiropractic. I'm looking around, looking at the card catalog, There was nothing about chiropractic. I was doing my prereqs at the community college, and I went to the advisors, the career advisors, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to chiropractic school. She's like, you can't chiropractic. What are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are you trying to talk me out of this? And I was like, give me some information about chiropractic. You got to have something here. You're an advisor for careers. I don't know anything about chiropractic, but you shouldn't be one. I'm like, you know anything about it? What are you telling me not to be one for? I mean, that was the actual conversation. I couldn't believe it, right? I'm poorly educated. And I still went anyway. And, the Wikipedia. Have you ever read Wikipedia in chiropractic? It's terrible. I've changed it at least a half a dozen times. And then some part of the satanic cult comes back and changes it again. I don't know. But I got fed up, so I'm going to start putting my own. I don't know. I'm going to spell a little different somehow. I don't know. But, the information isn't out there for people easy to find. And I've had, crane condyle lifts, amazing, beautifully done. The Y-strap thing, a lot of people, they ask me for that. I'm like, you know what, that's not really chiropractic, that's a manipulation. What we do is very, very specific. And, I'll take off your necktie, I'll pull it around your neck. I'll tie it to my bumper if you want, but, I'm not going to necessarily do that in my office, not going to let anybody see it either. So there's a difference in doing something specific And I could teach that lift. But when we're talking about pulling and then our whole weight on somebody's body with a strap around your neck is called death. All right? So when you can tell somebody, I say those exact words to people, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, all right, okay. So we don't have to give in. We don't have to try something new. B.J. Palmer, do we have to improve the toggle? Change lives, it gives us what we have now. We don't have to tie a strap on it and on the bumper of your car. I'm picking on them, but I mean to. What's it all about? D.D. Palmer, what's it all about? Chiropractic science is art and philosophy, deals with human and spiritual phenomena. The conscientious, reverent acknowledgement of the phenomena in sentiment and act connects the spiritual with the physical. Page 5 of the Chiropractor 1914. I'll read that again. What's it all about? Chiropractic science, its art and philosophy, deal with the human and spiritual phenomena. Did anybody say that to you in school? No. They're afraid of it. Because it's too esoteric. Dee also said there is no chiropractic education without the spiritual. We have to have that spiritual component. Like I said, BJ spent he said in volume 39, he said, I spent $200,000. That's a lot of money then. That's millions now. And spent 30 years trying to measure spirit. Neuroencephalotymograph, is that right?
Mentally.
There we go, exactly. I'll let you have it. It's still tongue-tied. I talk about it all the time. I need to practice that word more. To measure innate, to do his experiments, because he didn't want to leave that component out. Okay? When we hold things at a constant, science really doesn't work. We hold the world, all of science. I remember in chemistry class, all things held constant. That doesn't make any sense. That's why we're working much more in a quantum way. Working with the spirit. DD and BJ, DD especially, he was talking in quantum physics well before Schrodinger and his cat. Well before, decades before. He was making up language. He didn't know how to explain it yet. When you're reading DD's books, and I got a little bit of communication with on the history pages. I love the chiropractic history pages. Amazing, okay? About the 33 principles. There is so much that's from DD in the 33 principles. And there was a huge argument. Absolutely not. Stevenson pulled all that stuff out of a hat. A lot of it is coming from DD, just in different words. But he was talking in quantum. He's talking in quantum physics, Stevenson. He's just making up the language. That was like 1926 or somewhere around there, don't quote me. And I can't remember what the Schrodinger's cat, what year that was, but I think it was like the 50s or the 40s or somewhere around there. So they're making up language for their times now. They're creating this for us. It might sound so simple then. You think about, I saw something about this young girl. She was painting, she was like 11 years old, painting like Jackson Pollock. Well, that's great to copy somebody, right? But when you're the artist, it's all original. No one has done this before. Old rock and rollers coming up with new sounds that everybody plays today. It was brand new. Picasso, right? Cubism. Might look wild, but nobody did it before that guy. Now everybody sort of does it. But we're talking about the origination of things. These guys were making language for us, making a philosophy for us, giving us an understanding, an approach to help humanity transform. Wow! Thank you for caring about me and caring about the denizens of the earth. Look at what, could you imagine if you got that message, right? You got a spiritual message, and I have a lot of, students from Mexico, Brazil, and Europe come onto our podcast, And there was a thing about, oh, we got a message from a ghost. And I can understand that, what you would feel that way. Well, Dee Dee said, look, that's an inspiration. And in the Christian world, we call that God. You got an inspiration. To be inspired means to bring in spirit. So he was inspired. Sid Williams tells a story. He had a dream while he was at Palmer of a gingerbread man running across the floor. He had an arrow in his neck. And that moment he knew it was the Atlas. I'm going to go for the Atlas. I'm going to be an Atlas chiropractor and just the Atlas. He had an inspiration. There's no difference in that. We've been inspired in our lives to make change. For me to do a seminar, for all these years, I'm inspired. It's not that he got it from a ghost, he got it from spiritual consciousness. He was the one to take it to where it is now. To give it a spiritual component, put the philosophy behind it, use the spinuses and transverses levers. That's a very important factor in chiropractic you don't realize. So Dee Dee was the right one. It came to a lot of different people throughout history. We know that. Chiropractic, the movement of vertebra is thousands of years old. Chiropractic is newer. The principles are older. Using the vertebra, the spinous and the transverse as levers was the first time used by D. D. Palmer. And that was his explanation. And then the spiritual consciousness within it. A.T. Stills talked in spirit. A lot of people say that he got his stuff from A.T. Stills. There is no evidence at all from that ever. That's what it says in Wikipedia. And I've changed it a dozen times. I say, you find me a reference to that. And nobody can. But they still change it. So we're dealing with a quantum understanding, a spiritual understanding of serving people. I've got a couple of these in here. The physicians deal with the physical only. Chiropractors with physical and spiritual. I'm saying that again. All right. I'm looking for these. I'll be one moment. Yeah, it's okay. Now, the dura. I had an artist. She redid this from Netter, okay? But look, so I can use it. She changed it 20%. So, but having an understanding of what we're doing, I do more cranial work now. Okay, this is the arachnoid monitor. You can see that holding the brain in space. Okay, so we have shock absorption, and we also have flow, CSF. If one of these systems, those cranial bones have to move. You all know that. If one's not moving properly, we're not properly getting nutrients to the system. So, how important? Another one.
So we're adjusting Isaac. He's a newborn. He was just born last month. What was his birth? We'll probably call 12/20.
He was just adopted from a Pacific Island family. This was a big baby. He was so heavy. He's probably going to be, a really big kid.
5 and T1. I'm adjusting T1 right now. All right. The circulatory ganglia. Let's just check his legs. He's very short on the left side. Yeah. You're a big boy. And that's what I want to see. I want to see that deep stretch that's releasing meningeal tension, deep tension. There we go. Just like that. And that's right at T1. You can see I'm just changing the angle of my vector of energy here. And that's just better. I can feel it. It's softer, more at ease. He's nearly balanced. And the other part's going to be C1. Yeah, that's right here. That's it. You can see it. The reason why I adjusted Atlas last is because, hey, there's less, we're going from above down, inside out. So I want all that clarity. If I'm adjusting Atlas, I want T1, everything else below, clear. He is really just adjusting really well. So good. Yeah. Yeah, you feel better. Look at that. And now his legs are totally balanced. He's just loose. Can you see that difference? So good, big boy. Now I'm going to check his craniums. So he has the right side TMJ right here. I can feel it, TMJ syndrome. I'm adjusting, and you can see his face. He's just, and I'm not pressing hard, but I am going a little bit inferior, superior to inferior. That's it. And that just cleared. Perfect. I'm going to check the sphenoid. Yeah. You can see his whole physiology just changed. You see how calm he just got? Just clearing the sphenoid. The pituitary gland sits right on that, and that just loosens up really nicely. Let's check this occiput. So it's stuck a little bit on the left side occiput. Good boy. Yeah. He just wiggled that in his hands, and it just cleared his occiput, which is the base of the head. Good. And we're going to make sure the temporal bones, temporal bones, I can feel the right side temporal, just come this way. Just go right there, you can feel that. Yeah. And that I have, the axis is right in the center of the ear, and there we go, you can see that just relax. All the meningeal tension just loosening up. I'm not forcing, it's the intention of the direction we want to go in. Fantastic. And he's just, every movement he is doing, unwinding himself. So awesome. It's so great. And now look at him. The sabrum's clear. You're all done. You see how you just like laying there.
Are you on?
Yeah.
So that baby he had water around his heart, he's having trouble, very early. I think the mother had, issues. That was their second adoption from the same mother. And so he had cardiac issues. You heard me, there was a lot. The circulatory ganglia is actually C1 all the way to T4. T4, the most important chiropractic adjustment was at T4. Who was that? Harvey Lillard, right? BJ tried to change things a little bit in his writing. He said it was Atlas C1, I was there. Dee Dee said, you were just a lad. He was 13 years old. How do you remember what I was doing? Right? And then BJ went back and later on in his writing, he's, was saying T4. But it's very interesting. When you start reading a lot of green books and seeing the history and the ebb and flow of things, and then Dee Dee complaining about BJ, and BJ complaining about Dee Dee sneakily and surreptitiously in some of their writings. It's just a lot of fun. We just finished volume 39 in the Synapse Philosophy group. It's one of the best writings and you can feel the passion coming from BJ Palmer. And this is the last year of his life. It's the last book. He dies right after he finished this. And it's just, you can feel it coming out of this man. I've done everything I can do. Here you go. He talks about himself in the third person. There is a boy, and he did this, and it's just amazing reading from him. And so we've broken that down. What we do is we discuss it. What'd you get from that? And I tell you, volume 39, it almost just says itself. It's like, wow, man, we just want to absorb it. Half the time we're trying to figure out what he was trying to get at. By the time we got to 39, the last book, it really just comes out. You can just feel the love and the passion that I've done my best. That's the way I want to slide in the home base. When I'm done, I did my best. I did my best. We all want to do that, right? We just slid in. We've done what we could do. Now it's up to the next generation. That's the way I feel. The people that came before us. I mentioned Sigafoos and Pasquale Sarasoli and Gilardi and all the people that have come before us, Sid Williams, and the thousands, millions, I don't know if it's millions actually, but thousands of men and women were really, blessed to have had them come before us to pave this way and make it so easy. We don't have it hard, we got it easy, right? It wasn't that they were going to jail because they didn't want to get licensed. It's because they didn't want to take a medical board for licensing. and be under the thumb of medicine. You give me a chiropractic test, I'll take it. What do we have now? MVCE, enough said. The worst ever to exist. It should be destroyed. We're doing our best to get rid of them. Change the language. Get them out of here, right? They've been stealing from students and lining their pockets with gold. They have millions, and they pay themselves well out of student loans. Kids go to debt to take these exams. Horrendous. The CCE gets paid the same way. Horrible, horrible, terrible, awful. We need to change it. We are changing it. Not need to, it's happening now, right? It's happening. Thank you for your service in the House of Representatives. God bless you. Let's robe him in these blessings as he goes through. You know, you go to the pit of vipers, man. Because, you know, I've fought there. I've been toe-to-toe with the CCE. And Sigafus told me, he's like, you better get a helmet. You better get a helmet. You know what? You might need an umbrella too, because you might have a shitstorm. All right? And I sat back for a minute. I was like, okay, here, and just right back at it. We got to go. We got to do it. We got to stand up. So, you know, the mission is ours. If I've said that a million times, I haven't said it enough. We've got to get out, be purpose-driven. You don't have to teach seminars. That's my thing. But getting out and telling more people about chiropractic, inspiring more people to become chiropractors, because students, you know, Sherman's enrollment is up. You know, Ed Cordero did a great job, and Neil Cohen, absolutely amazing, bringing students into that school. The rest of the schools are down in the toilet because of online classes, people quitting, and I can understand that. And then low enrollment for people coming in now, right? Because they're just trying to make everyone into a PT. I think the next thing we should get rid of, I had to take a PT board to get a Florida license. I think we need to take that away because the PTs don't need to take a chiropractic license, a test, right? I think that's BS. I think we should get rid of that. Absolutely, positively. So, fight for what we want. Expect to get it. Period. You know, I have a little baby, little baby, he's like 6 or 7 years old. His dad's 6'9". So this kid, he's 6 years old, he's almost as tall as I am. And he's had torticollis his whole life. And what his eyes are starting to do are like a flounder, right? You know, the flounder has the eyes on one side. His eyes are starting to shift to try and bring the eyes on the horizon. That's what's happening to him. He's been going to PT since he was knee-high to a June bug, right? I'm in the South, I'm trying to give you some Southern, I'm joking with you. But I haven't had a yawl yet, I didn't throw in some yawls. But what happens, the eyes are trying to do this. So he's walking, this little kid, he's 6 years old, is hanging his head this way, and his eyes, you can see it, his face is reshaping for his eyes. He's been going to PT since he was a tiny little baby. It hasn't helped at all. Florida Chiropractic Society. I'll talk about this in a minute. So, my wife's from Brazil. His wife, mother's from Brazil. Someone says, why don't you go see Roberta's husband? And that's me. Roberta's my wife. So they bring that child in. 2 adjustments, really. It was the first one we saw some big change, but then the body wanted to go right back. We just let it be, give it some time. Second time he came in, his head just went like this. Right on top of his shoulders, like that. But then his eyes were crooked. It's just, or one way or the other. And so he was moving his head so he could see properly. Amazing, though. His body had to adapt. Third time he came in, the father tells me they're Brazilian. Brazil, if you don't play soccer, I mean, you just don't exist. Okay? So he said he played soccer and wanted to play because they were forcing him to play soccer. But he got out there, he could run where he's not running like this, and he could get out and play with his friends and kick a soccer ball. In 2 adjustments. PT has its place, but I don't want to take an exam for it. Why would I go down a level? I'm sorry, I take care of a lot of PTs in my office too. And it has value, don't get me wrong. I go to one of my things when I started off in practice was going to do talks in the PT places, right? I mean, severe brain injuries, people learning how to walk in prosthetics, real physical therapy stuff. And I go and do talks on stress for them because those people work really, really hard. But they're doing that type of work. They started asking me to adjust people in the beds. And there was a woman, I gotta put this down and talk about it. There was a woman, the doctors, they're like, because I would adjust all the nurses there, all the nurse nursing assistants and everything else, and I'd adjust them all. And the doctors asked me, hey, can you adjust this patient? And I said, yes. And I didn't ask any questions. It was like, yes. I get called to duty, yes. Well, they didn't tell me the whole story. And so they sent me the room, I go in the room, and this woman is screaming at the top of her lungs, ah! Screaming like she's being attacked and on fire, okay? And they said she's been doing that for 2 years, nonstop. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Okay, I'm walking in there, and everyone leaves the room. So I thought, okay, all right. I brought my Titron with me. I got my laptop. I'm going to scan her. I'm going to do all these things. I'm getting a listing. I'm going to do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go check her legs. I pull over the sheet, and I have nightmares of these feet. Okay, I have nightmares of her feet. The nails dark black and 4 inches long and twisted, and feet that are just like stumps. Okay, puffy. She hasn't touched the ground in years. And screaming at the top of her lungs. I was like, I just don't know. What do I do? What do I do? Let's adjust her atlas. I just went up to her and which side was, can I just feel anything? It's like a block of wood because she's been screaming. You think about that. I went to her atlas and just went, and then I left. The nurses are like, you all done? Because it really wasn't that long. I mean, that was probably 3 minutes. And most of it, I was in my head over it. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. See you later. I ran out. And I came back. I was going every Tuesday and Thursday there. I come back, that was Thursday. I come back on Tuesday. They're like, I don't know what in the world you did, but she's better. I was like, okay, I can't wait to go see what's better. Well, better was from screaming at the top of her lungs to just cussing everybody out. You get your fuck out. Every single word was profanity. Okay? I can't imagine what this woman's been through in her life to be where she was just then. I can't imagine that woman's life. God bless her. Okay? Obscenities, cursing at me and cursing at everybody. So I did it again. Until I felt my body, I'm done. All right, walk out. Because I can't check those legs. They're wooden stumps. All right? I can't get near them because the nails are so big. I thought it could poke me in the eye. Until my body, physiology, I'm done. I gave her everything I could. And I walked out. Came back again. They were like, I don't know what you did. But man, she's different again. I'm like, I'm so scared to walk in that room. Last different man, she cussed me out for the whole time and cussed everybody out. I walked in there and she was just like, whispering under her voice this time. Instead of screaming obscenities, she was saying unto herself, like that. Okay? I was like, okay, all right, I did it. Came back again. She was just like, And then she passed. The next time I came, she had passed. What we did was free her spirit. Really freed her spirit that wanted to go anyway. That was so pent up with anger, and she may have been, who knows what that woman's journey had been in her life. I don't want to walk in her shoes. I could free and clear her atlas so her spirit was free. And she can get to the kingdom of heaven. She had enough. It's not always that we're adjusting them and they turn into angels and they're like, oh, everything's better now. It's not always that way. Sometimes we're freeing them so they can go. That taught me the biggest lessons of my life, that woman. I've never forgotten her. I do have nightmares of her feet. But she was free at that point. It's not all about you're going to heal instantly in this moment. Unwinding that soul so that spirit can be free. That was one of the greatest lessons of my life, really, from that woman that I never really even spoke to. She spoke to me, called me a lot of bad names. She didn't mean it. It wasn't personal. I didn't take it personally. The nurses didn't take it personally. But could you imagine what that woman's life is? So what we're doing is just so amazing. It's life transforming. After that, I was done in that place. I was like, I can't go in there anymore. Maybe they'll have another one for me. I don't know. But all those people started coming into the office, though. I was going in and serving them. I knew what kind of work they do. My mother is in assisted living, and I go to the assisted living place, I just bring my portable table. Hey, who wants an adjustment? Come on. Right? Come on. I go to hospice, and I haven't for a long time. I'll tell you my last time I went to the hospice, there was a family, they asked, a woman in the church wanted me to go, and the family from her church, the daughter was 13 years old and she was in hospice. And she asked me, can you just come down? I'm like, does the family know I'm coming? They're like, no, but they're friends of mine, I'm just going to bring you. So I show up there and the father said, absolutely not, do not touch my daughter. I do not give you permission for that. Her head was so, you could see her atlas literally coming out of her skin. And that's the family. That's absolutely their prerogative. This girl was dying, and they want, just let it be. We've committed to that. We get it. We're letting her go. And I had to say, okay. I wanted to go up and adjust that baby. I did. But what I did was I adjusted all the staff. I knocked on all the doors. Hey, no pressure. I'm a chiropractor. If you feel like getting adjusted, I'm here for you. I'll be right outside the door. And, I adjusted people. Some people in the beds, some people said no. Many people said yes. We can deliver this service anywhere. If you want to go and travel and see the entire world, not be tied down to an office, you're free. You're free. You could be on a dock in Taipei and adjusting fishermen, and you can live a good life. Go out and serve. The side effect of service is wealth. The side effect. And whatever you determine wealth is for yourself.